Okay, so what I've discovered over my 25 odd years in business, and if I'm honest about it, over the last sort of 12 years when I've been recovering from my downfall, is that there's certain things that companies that succeed do that companies that don't succeed don't do. Yeah, and the first of that is niching, and that's pretty much all about owning a segment of the market, owning a part of the market. And as electricians, as tradesmen in general, don't do it. They learn their trade, and as an electrician, we all know that you can go out as a S.P.A.R.K.S and you can be a S.P.A.R.K.S who wires power plants, or you can be a S.P.A.R.K who fixes refrigerators, and there's everything else in between. Yeah. And as tradesmen, we very rarely define, this is the area that I'm going to work in, this is what I'm going to specialise in, this is what I'm going to do. And as a result of that, a lot of us lose out because we're so generic and so broad in terms of what we actually do that it confuses the hell out of people. How many times, question, and again, members of have heard this before, how many times have you actually gone to a customer and they've said, I didn't really know if I should have bothered you with this because I didn't know if it was the type of thing you did? Happens? Yeah. Why? Because your advertising, your marketing doesn't tell them this is the type of work I'm interested in, this is what I want. So how many jobs are you losing because of that? How many people are not picking up the phone and calling you because they think, well, it's not really clear what he does, but hang on, page 2, page 3, page 4, that's a bit clearer. He does take small jobs, or he does do televisions, or he does do, yeah. So it's niching down and actually being able to explain what it is you actually do and for who you actually do it. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Credibility is the other thing. Do we think in our industry that at the moment we have a good name? Tradesmen in general, I'm talking, not necessarily just electricians, but tradesmen in general, they have a good name in the industry? Not really, no. You've got all sorts of comments about road traders. Customers have a preconceived idea as soon as you walk through the door. Before they even talk to you, they've got this idea that you're going to jack up your price, that you're going to leave a job half finished, that you're going to ask for money and do a runner afterwards and not take care of the job. So credibility is another area that we don't address. We turn up to the job, as we don't of course, but people turn up to jobs and they're wearing their tracksuit bottoms, they've got, you know, love-hate tattoos or whatever, cross the knuckles and up. So building credibility with the customers is another area that we need to take care of, because if you don't, the customer has that preconceived idea in their mind, and they will start thinking you are just like everybody else. You're just another rip-off, another cowboy merchant. Then we've got awareness. And awareness, if you could have the best firm in the world, you could have the best company in the world, you could be the best tradesman in the world, but if they don't know you exist, they don't know how to get hold of you. And this is partly the section that we're going to be talking about in detail today, is awareness. And then we've got likability. People buy from people they like, don't they, Charles?
Yes.
And if they don't like you, they don't buy from you. It's the bottom line. Or if they do buy from you, they buy from you begrudgingly and questioningly. If they like you, if you've built a relationship with them, then you've got an much easier sell. And then we've got communication. Another thing that most tradesmen are knocked back on is communication. You know, you go ahead and you visit the property, you tell the person you're going to provide them with a quote, and then 3 days later they're phoning you, not you guys of course, but they're phoning you saying, where's that quote you were going to send me? Yeah, and we fall down on communication. And there's all sorts of other, you know, keeping them informed of what's going on the job. And it goes even deeper than that. Once the job is completed, it's keeping the relationship going with them after the job is completed, so that you get, number one, referrals, number two, testimonials, repeat business. And that's another area we look at in the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint. And then the key thing that sort of holds it all together is setup. And we go back again to this whole thing, this whole understanding of, you set up your business, you think, right, I'm a S.P.A.R.K.S, I've got qualifications, I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy some tools, get a van, and I'm going to work. But you put no real setup behind the business element, the marketing element. And if I liken it to a funnel, what you should have is a setup in your organisation that is bringing leads in all of the time, feeding them into this funnel. You don't have to take every single lead that comes through. Some of it's not going to be work that you want, some of it's going to be work that you don't want to handle, you don't want to touch, people that you don't want to work for, whatever. But you keep it coming in at the top of this funnel, and you filter it through the funnel. And then when it comes out the other end, you then have work on an ongoing basis. I mean, those of you who know me, I normally fill my diary 3 months in advance. Normally, yeah? I can't say it's always like that, but most of the time my diary is filled. And that's simply because of this whole, the way I process this funnel of the work coming through. And there's a lot of work that I turn away, there's a lot of work that I don't take. In fact, there's probably more work that I don't take than the work that I do take. And today, I can be very, very choosy about the type of work that I do and the value of the work that I take on. There's a story, and you'll hear it if you're sticking around. There's a story around every Christmas now. Just before Christmas, I will promote purely consumer units. Because when I get back from my Christmas break in the new year, all I want to do is knock out consumer units. Because they're a quick turn, we all know, they're a quick turnaround, a good profit margin, just easy work. So in the build up to Christmas, and you'll see my marketing in the build up to Christmas, I start pushing consumer units. So I can be very fussy about what it is. And you can do that when you target the market, you can do that. You can get very fussy about what it is that you want. So those I saw, I believe, were the problems that we faced as tradesmen, as electricians. And what I did was I started to build systems around those, build things around those, to develop and train and build into my business. And what I got was, out of the whole niching, was segmenting. And that's segmenting the customer, and segmenting the work, and segmenting the geographical area. So it's basically the who, where, and the what of what it is that you do. And I wrote the training segment called the Local Segment Generator. And I teach in that how to actually define who is your ideal customer. Because for each of us, our ideal customer is going to be completely different. And again, those of you who've heard the stories before, you know that one of my ideal customers are letting agents who manage properties, normally in excess of 200 properties they'll have, and in tight geographical area. Another one of my ideal customers, you don't just have to have one, another one of mine is a female, normally around 40, married, has a 1930s style property, normally have kids, probably teenagers, married to a guy who shoots up to the city and we live in Kent, and most people commute into town. So when I break that down into an ideal customer like that, and then again it goes a lot deeper than that. When I break that down into an ideal customer, I can look around and find thousands of people like that around my area. Does that make my marketing easier? Of course it does, because I'm not trying to talk to everybody. I'm talking to, in my view, one person. I call her Mary. But I'm talking to one person. Is it reaching thousands of people? Yes, it is. Will it hit other people on the periphery? Yes, it will. But it makes my marketing a lot easier and a lot better by targeting it at just one individual. You end up talking their language. And you end up being able to discover where you can reach those people. And that's the whole local segment generator. I'll go into even further detail then about geographical area. I think the last member on the webinar was about that, the geographical area. And my belief is that you can stand at your place of work, whether that's you operate from home or you have an office or a base or whatever, that you can stand there and you can scribe a line 15 to 20 miles circumference around you. And you should have enough work, as a domestic electrician, you should have enough work in that area to keep you going without any issues at all. You shouldn't have to travel any more than 15, 20 miles in any given direction. Now I know, and I've said this before at training events as well, I know people will say, oh, what about the Outer Hebrides? Yeah, my nearest neighbour is 25 miles away. Well, fair enough, there's always going to be exceptions, aren't there? But in general, in most areas, you should be able to hit a line 15 to 20 miles around you, and that should be your you focus on. If you focus on that area, you should be able to dominate. Because I can guarantee you, nobody else, no other electrician in your area is going to focus on it the way that we focus on what we do. Credibility. If I get the right buttons. Okay, didn't want to do that. You see, technology is one of my strong points. Yeah. Right, so credibility is all about positioning yourself. And when I talk about positioning ourselves, it's about positioning yourself as an expert. For this whole credibility, what I did was created the expert positioning pyramid. And that's all about positioning yourself locally in your area as an expert. Because people don't argue with experts. People don't haggle on price with experts. When was the last time you went to the dentist and you said to them, I'm not paying 75 quid for that film? Yeah? You don't, do you? Because you see him, he's established as an expert. And I believe that we deserve the same recognition. We put time into our training, we put time into our personal development, we put effort and finance behind getting the right tools behind us, and we develop our skills. So do you agree? I mean, yes or no? Would you agree we should be seen as an expert? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. And we can do that, again, very, very easily. There was a time, I think some of us are old enough to remember, there was a time when electricians were actually revered in the trades. The electrician was always seen as the educated one, the clever one, the smart one, the intelligent one. Sorry?
The weird one.
The weird one, yeah. The wired one. Wired, weird? Yeah. But there was a time, and it's not that long ago. Yeah, you can go back 15, 20 years ago. It was like that. And it has just slipped. And again, we talked about awarding bodies. I think part of that is their fault. But that's for a whole different platform. Yeah. And I believe you can reclaim that space, and you can reclaim it very easily again because of everything I'm saying here about nobody else is doing it. Everybody else is out doing it. They're doing the same old all the time. And it is so easy to establish yourself locally. And we're talking here about local marketing, but it's so easy to establish yourself locally as an expert. If you define your area, you pick an area, you pick your niche, you can corner that niche, and you can establish yourself completely as an expert in that people are looking for you. You're not looking for work, people are coming looking for you. Awareness is all about advertising. And this is the section that we're going to talk about when we move on to talking about our magazines, and this is the area we're going to be covering. But it's all about advertising, and how to advertise, where to advertise, the psychology behind advertising. And for that, created the Advertising Aims Amplifier. And inside of that, I'll teach you everything that I know that has worked for me in terms of advertising. And we cover everything from leaflet drops, newsletters, magazines and directories, networking events, even radio advertising. Anybody here tried radio advertising?
No, I've thought about it a few times, but not gone for it yet.
Okay.
Fear of spending out too much money.
Yeah. Well, wait until we go through that webinar, because I had a really good experience with that. Not.
No.
But yeah, I mean, everything that I have learned, everything that I've tried in terms of advertising, guys, I'm not kidding when I say it, over the years now, since I sort of went on this quest of trying to learn how to do marketing correctly, I've tried, I would imagine, every single form of advertising and marketing that's out there. We had a bit of a giggle one time on one of the ToolBox TVs. Coins, stickers on coins. Anybody ever tried to put stickers on coins? The trick I picked up, and it was somewhere foreign, I think it was at a nightclub, and I was a lot younger, but I remembered it not that long back, putting vinyl stickers on coins saying local electrician contact. And I think I worked out that every coin that leaves your hand passes between about 20 people before it ends up back in the mint. There are some stats online that tell you, yeah, because they have to go back into the mint to be washed before they come back out again. Yeah. Genuine. But they pass 20 hands normally before they get back into the mint and your vinyl sticker gets peeled off. And I now every month, a batch of coins in my office, £1 coins, will end up with a vinyl sticker on it, and they go out. And do we get calls off of them? Yes, we do. So, another small little, I wasn't going to be talking about vinyl coins today, but again, it's all about different forms and different types of advertising. And inside the advertising games, I'm trying to talk about that. Likeability, that's all about relationships, and it's all about building relationships with your customers. And not just seeing it as a one-shot deal. You know, here's the quote, there's the job, there's the check, goodbye, end of. I firmly believe the first job is literally that. It is the first job. That's the start of the relationship. Because after that, your customer has much more value for you. When you ever get more work off of them or not, there's much more value in that customer when it comes down to referrals, testimonials, and everything else that goes with it. If you get a customer to write a testimonial for you, that's a fantastic way to. If you get a customer to refer you to a friend, that's a very easy sell. Because when somebody recommends something, the receiver of it is more likely to take it up because it's come as a recommendation. So building relationships, nurturing relationships with your customers, rather than just saying, that's the end of the relationship. And I know when I say this, the hands on this side of the floor will go up. But how many of you are actually keeping a database of your customers? Did you see a show of hands? Keeping a database of your customers, right? So more hands going up there. But one hand out of the database of customers. Guys, you are throwing money away. If you're not keeping a database of people that you have quoted for, regardless of whether you've worked for them or not, and I'll probably put a bet on that you've done more quotes than you've done work. Because most of us do. You go out and you quote, you don't get all the jobs that you quote for. But those people, as far as I'm concerned, are customers. Even though you haven't managed to do that first job for them, you've got their details. You should have. You should have their phone number, you should have their home address, and you should have their email address. And you should be making use of that. Do you do anything with the database that you have?
I've thought about it, but i.e. Christmas cards. So yeah, so I've gone down that thinking of it. I haven't actually done it yet, but that's what the idea of me keeping it was one of them things. Obviously.
Yep. Stop thinking and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's money on the table. It is money on the table. I mean, we build from the moment we have contact with the person on the phone, before we've ever done anything, we start to build relationships with them. And there are various techniques that we teach inside the ToolBox for doing that. And it results in lots of referrals, lots of testimonials, and lots of repeat business. And again, I can't stress it enough. You pay for advertising, you pay for marketing. You don't pay for repeat business. That's free work. Yeah. So building relationships, and for that I've got the Power Relationship Creator, and that is a complete course on its own about building relationships and how you form relationships with your customers, which leads nicely onto communication, which is all about keeping in touch. And this goes back to your Christmas card, your St. Patrick's Day card, your St. George's Day cards, your thank you cards for doing the work. There's loads of different ways. I've identified, and that's why I call it the Communicate Customer Keeper. I've identified 8 different ways where you can keep in touch with a customer without pissing them off. Because how many times would you send an email to a customer before the customer would actually get pissed off and say, stop emailing me? Yeah? Because we don't just email them and say, use our service, use our service, use our service. Or we can sell you this, we can sell you this, we can sell you this. This communication is all about adding value. It's about getting the customer to expect what it is that you send to them and want to receive what it is that you send to them. So that when they receive a piece of information from you, they see it as value rather than as advertising. So for example, one of the things we do, we have an email sequence set up that when a customer comes in, it funnels off in different ways, whether they've just a quote and they've never bought, or whether they've bought, but it funnels off into different directions. So in one of the funnels, there will be a series of emails, and they're not selling anything, but they're little handy tips, like 6 months down the line, you'll get an email from me to say, have you checked your smoke alarms yet? You know, 6 months have passed, it's time to check the smoke alarms. Recommendation, every 6 months you should be checking them. Here's what you do, you know, go press the button, be careful under that, blah, blah, blah. Now, do all of my customers have smoke alarms? No. How many times will I get an email back saying, I don't have smoke alarms, could you come and quote for me? Yeah? Did I try and sell smoke alarms? No. Get the same thing with RCDs. Every 6 months, you send out an email, and in the email it will say, it's time to check your RCD. Go and find your board, press the button, blah, 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 it should do this. If it doesn't do that, push that. Yeah? How many times will I get an email back saying, what's an RCD? It starts that communication. Am I trying to sell RCDs? Well, I am. But does the customer know that? No. So it's all about different modes and methods of keeping in touch without being pushing, without being salesy, but being helpful. We send out a newsletter, and I recommend that every one of you should be sending out a newsletter. I don't care if it's email-based or paper-based. I used to do an email newsletter. And then through talking with some of the people that I go on training courses with, we suggested that I should try the paper one. I did, I tried the paper one, and it gets a much better response. And it was so bloody easy to produce. You know, again, we talked about this in the member area, but very simply, guys, my newsletter to go to my customers is an A4 sheet of paper, folded in half like that. That is it. We print it in Publisher. Everybody familiar with Publisher? There's free versions out there, there's open source versions out there. We print it in Publisher. It will have the company logo across the top, a couple of articles inside the newspaper. On the back of it, nice thing with Publisher and any of the Office suite, it prints the address of the customer. So we just pull the names out of the database, put it into a merge, and it prints it on the back. It goes into a C5 envelope, the address comes up right in the right spot. Goes in the post. And that's it. That's my newsletter. I get a fantastic response rate from it because we run competitions in it. And in the competitions, obviously you make the competition very easy to win. Why would you do that? Why would you make the competition really easy to win?
So it doesn't take too long to do it. People just think, yeah, do it because I've got 2 minutes.
Any advances on that?
Better
Do I care who wins it?
No. Better response rate, isn't it?
Yeah. But it tells me if people are reading it. Yeah? If I send out 400 and I get 6 people responding, if I send out 400 and I get 60 people responding, yeah? So by running a competition in your newsletter, you know whether they're actually, it's not just going in the bin. Yeah? And it helps you then to adjust the content in it to make it so that you get a response. What do I give away as a prize? A pair of cinema tickets or a bottle of wine. Everybody likes to go to the movies and everybody likes to drop a wine every now and then. And both of them are dead cheap. There's nothing expensive about a pair of cinema tickets and a bottle of wine. But again, that's just one of the things, one of the 8 ways that we teach inside the Customer Keeper. And then all about setting up is about having proper systems in your business. And those are systems that bring work in to your business. One of the things that I talk about when I teach is this, what I call the marketing hour. And it's spending 1 hour a day, 4 days of the week, purely working on the marketing of your business. Not doing your certificates, not doing your quotes, not doing your invoicing, or anything like that, not polishing your tools, or stripping your tools down and rebuilding them and stripping them down and rebuilding them. No. But working on the marketing, that's where we talk about getting those people inside that funnel. Yeah? So tweaking your advertisement, researching where you're putting your advertisements, doing silly things like the coins or any of the other marketing techniques that we teach. But spending an hour every day, 4 days, you can do 5 days if you want, I don't care. But for me, I do 1 hour, 4 days of the week. I'm an area advisor, works for me. Email goes off, Facebook goes off, and I'll spend an hour working on just marketing my business. Where am I going to get customers? Because again, you can have a fantastic business, but if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And that's spending that time. Because again, and I'm making assumptions here, guys, but again, my guess is, like most people, we get up in the morning, jump in the van, look at the diary, and go off to the job. And hope that the phone's going to ring during the day to bring in the next job, or the next job, or the next job. Yeah? do we actually consciously spend time getting people into our business? Do we actually spend time thinking about how can I get to a point where I have this funnel effect, where I've got lots of stuff coming through and I can actually choose what's coming out the other end, instead of going, you know what, I've got nothing in the diary next week. Crap. Now I'll do some real panic marketing to try and get some stuff in. And you know what, I'm going to have to take the shit jobs because I need the money in the bank, because I've got the wages to pay, because I've got the mortgage to sort out. So I'm going to have to take that job that I didn't want to take, but I'll take it anyway because I need the money. If you have the funnel effect, if you're working on getting people in all of the time, 1 hour every day, guys, that's all it takes. You get people in all of the time, and all those crap jobs can go over that way while you're pulling out the choice ones. And you're not having to panic because you've got a flow of work coming through. I hope I'm explaining that in a good way. Yeah? So for systems then, what we have is the S.P.A.R.K.S System Builder. And again, there's a whole training course around how to put those systems in place where you can spend an hour a day. Some of the guys, I think, are spending 4 hours at the weekend to do it. Yeah? I do an hour a day, that works for me. It's making a noise. I do an hour a day, 4 days a week for me. That works for me. Sometimes I'll miss an hour. Doesn't matter. I'll catch up another time. But if you build in that practice into your methodology, if you build that into what you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis, where you say, this is my marketing time, this is where I'm not going to focus on anything else, I'm just going to focus on getting work in, then you find your business just escalates. And putting systems in place to make sure that that all works for you makes your life a hell of a lot easier. So that is, in essence, what makes up the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint to marketing. And each one of those modules has a really deep dive behind it in terms of what we teach, or what I teach, right down behind all of that. And what we're looking at today is this one section, the A, which is the advertising aims amplifier. And again, inside of the advertising aims amplifier, it is broken down even further again. We talk all about the audience, our impact, how we create an impact in the message, and the one thing, or the area that we're delving down into today, is one of the solutions, which is magazines and directories. Everybody with me so far?